welcome to Selina Novello's YouTube channel. I'm so excited for this next clip. So this is from one of my podcast episodes. So my podcast, as you probably know, is called One World Countless Stories with me, Selina Novello. And I have launched a couple episodes now, and I am showing all of my YouTube followers the footage of that, what it looks like behind the scene, as I know that some people prefer to watch the video over listening to it, but you can get it to where all podcasts stream, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all the places, or you can watch it right here. So this episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Kari Rose. Now, Kari Rose is a lady that I met through the Fempreneurs program. She is so amazing. She shines throughout the whole. Kari Rose is so amazing. Ever since I met her, I've really been drawn towards her energy and her outlook and her message. So I am so excited that I got the time to sit down with her and just hear a little bit more about her and her story, as I've heard her speak and talk in many different places. And so I'm excited for all of you guys to hear it. Her episode is about so much. It's about the adversity and challenges that you're gonna face in life and the choices that you have to make. And she made a lot of big choices in her life that got her to where she is today as a successful businesswoman. And I get to work with Kari Rose really closely now, and it's just been so amazing. Her energy, the way she works with people has been so amazing. So I'm very, 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 very excited for you guys to hear her and hear her story and hear her message. So let's get right into it.
All right, so as Selina said, my name is Kari Rose, and I just turned 50, and I absolutely love being 50. So I just want to start the show off with that because, oh my goodness, I think that so many people go through life being afraid of getting older, afraid of the next challenges or the next chapters in their life, and I'm just loving being 50. Like, it's so much fun. So yeah, where did I go? Where did I come from? That's kind of, I was born in New Westminster, British Columbia. I am the second child of three daughters with my mom and dad. And my oldest sister, she's only 11 months older than me, and she was a rubella baby. My mom had German measles when she was pregnant with her. And so she was born deaf and legally blind. And she had some other physical handicaps as well. So born with some handicaps. So 11 months later, here I come. And as you can imagine, my parents were quite young and just starting out in their lives together. And it was really overwhelming for them. And it was a tough time for them and a tough time on their marriage. And I felt from the moments that I can remember, I have felt like I'm here to help my sister, to help my mom, to help my dad. My younger sister's 3 years younger than me. And I feel like there's never been a question, not that I've always enjoyed that description of why I might be here on this earth, but there's never been a doubt about why I'm here on this earth.
Yeah, that's very powerful. That's awesome. So at that point, how old were you when you remember the issues started rising?
I remember, being, probably like 3-4 years old, and we lived on a little acreage right beside my grandma and grandpa, because my grandma and grandpa helped out my parents a lot with 3 little kids, and with Tracy needing all the extra help that she needed and going to special schools and appointments and so on and so forth. And I remember, or I don't know if I remember this. Does this ever happen? I don't know if I remember this, or this is stories that have been told to me.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Real memory.
Yeah.
But I remember my grandma, bless her heart, she passed away last summer. We were really, really close. But she said to me, Kari, she goes, I feel bad. I feel bad about all the responsibility that was on your shoulders at such a young age. And I'm like, what do you mean, Grandma? And she's like, well, you were like 3 or 4 years old, and you and your sister were out and you were playing in the barn or wherever you were playing, and you came back to the house and your sister didn't have her boots on. She had taken them off and left them somewhere. And Grandma said, without even thinking about it, I was frustrated and upset because Tracy didn't have her boots. So I sent you back out to go find her boots. And, years later, thinking about it and realizing that wasn't Kari's responsibility. Kari was 3 years old, right? So things like that. And I'm not telling these stories for, gosh forbid, for anybody to feel sorry, or I don't feel sorry for myself or anything like that. But it's definitely part of those circumstances that have developed or been the foundation that is guided or molded me into who I am. Another memory I do have is walking from Grandma and Grandpa's house across the field. And my dad was carrying my older sister, Tracy, and my mom was carrying my little sister, Marcy, and I was by myself trailing behind and coming up with this little chant of Daddy carries Tracy and Mommy carries Marcy and Kari carries Kari. Yeah. And just chanting that, just kind of feeling sorry for myself for sure, but also realizing that I had the ability to take care of myself or to be responsible for myself. And that is a gift that I cherish. That's something that I cherish. I'm proud of.
Absolutely. And you figured that out at such a young age, which is so powerful. I mean, there's obviously things that, it was unfortunate that maybe you didn't get as much attention as you thought maybe you needed, but it was still really awesome because you've created so many good foundations for your adult life. So that's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no excuses. I truly believe your life is what you make of it. And maybe in the moments when you feel like it's not fair or it's too much, it's too heavy of a load to bear, you're all alone, nobody understands, all those, I call them below the line feelings that we all can feel. And ultimately, it's our own choice for each of us individually if we choose to stay there and repeat those patterns and make that a belief system that becomes true for you, so you attract more of that into your life, or to use that to get out of that situation and make the best out of your life. And I've chosen to make the best out of my life for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's awesome. So if we move a little bit away from your childhood, grow up a little bit, what did things start like? What started happening with your education?
So my journey for my education is, so the story gets a little worse before it gets better. My parents split up and my mom has mental health issues, undiagnosed at that time. Yeah. And she moved us from British Columbia to Alberta, and she had alcohol and prescription drug using problems, addictions. And so my childhood from then on, like from the 9 years on, it was quite traumatic. And my sisters and I, the three of us, we were exposed to things that children shouldn't be exposed to. And we had to deal with things that children shouldn't have to deal with. And I felt responsible for my sisters, my older because of her handicaps, and my younger because she was my baby sister. Yeah. So again, it was just more things that I had to adapt to that really pull on my strength to survive. And a lot of those years were just about surviving. And and there were times when I didn't know if I could. There were times when I didn't know if it was worth it. So lots of down times and teenage years and trying to figure yourself out and not feeling supported and all those kind of things. So I ended up going after when I was 19. I graduated from high school in Alberta, and then I worked for a year and played and whatnot. And then I went to college in BC. And while I was in college, I met a guy, and we learned quite quickly into our dating that he actually had a terminal illness. And so I quit school to move in with him and be with him and take care of him. And we ultimately got married. And again, I was quite young, just 20, 21, 22. And it wasn't a healthy relationship. It was based on me, because of the patterns of me how I grew up. It was based on me taking care of somebody. So it wasn't a mutually a loving, romantic relationship as much as I wanted it to be. It never was. It was based on me being a caregiver. And ultimately, he passed away. And so I had already quit university and whatnot. And when he passed away, I had a bit of a breakdown, feeling very, very guilty and responsible that I couldn't save his life, which is crazy because he had a terminal illness.
Yeah.
But that's when I, with my years with him, was exposed to ulterior or alternative healthcare, because we were trying, especially his mom was such a light and would try anything because to save her son, of course. And so I was exposed to massage therapy and acupuncture and chiropractic and herbs and different therapies that I had never heard before, being raised by a mom with prescription drug dependencies. So that's kind of what that was where my new life started. So after Jeff passed away, I enrolled in I wanted to be a chartered herbalist. That was the first thing that I wanted to learn. So I enrolled in school to be a chartered herbalist, and then I took a reflexology course. I was in Vancouver now, and an aromatherapy. I started learning about that, and then I decided to start over where no one knew me as a widow, because I was only 26 years old. And I sold everything, all my possessions, and I moved to Toronto, Canada, to do my massage therapy schooling. And then that's the next chapter of my life.
Yeah. Okay. So let's pause there really quick. I have a few questions for you from what you've just said. So the first question I have for you is, I know you said a lot of it was just surviving and pushing through, but how did you deal with the alcohol abuse and all of that at such a young age?
It was really tough. And the patterns were repeating themselves within me. So I was at a very young age, started drinking and partying and not respecting my body the way that I should be, and following the same patterns that I saw in my mom. Mm-hmm. And it came to a point where I was scared. I was really, really scared about the path that I was going down. And I came to a fork in a road. And I was only in grade 10, so I was 16. Yeah. And that fork in the road was, I can either continue what I'm doing and I'm going to get hurt. I didn't want to continue that road. So I literally, my options, I had asked my dad if I could move in with him, and he said no. And I felt like I had nowhere to go. So I was it was like, okay, I can move to Calgary from the small town we lived in and try to get a job and try to make it. And that seemed terrifying to me at that age, and being alone. Or the other option was to move in with my mom's boyfriend at the time, and to change, like, in a completely different town, and to reinvent myself, as not a party animal and not that persona that I had picked up. And
Yeah.
so that's what I chose to do.
And so it sounds like there was a couple times where you were reinventing yourself. Can you just
Yes.
elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So when I moved to this new school, I knew that I was quite intelligent, and I kind of decided nobody here knows me. They don't know my history. They don't know my past. They don't know anything about me. So whatever I present out there is the truth, right? Because there's nothing else. So what is my truth? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And these were conversations that I had with myself. I didn't have any counseling back in the 80s. That wasn't really, a thing or available, or I wasn't aware of it. So I wanted to be on the honor roll. I wanted to play basketball. I had an idea of who I wanted to be. And so I moved to this new town and I accomplished those goals of who I wanted to be. And nobody could say that I couldn't do those things because as far as they knew, I'd been doing it forever.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And the fact that you decided to do good instead of bad and turn your life completely around at 16 blows my mind, because that just proves and shows again how strong you are. I can't believe that. That's quite amazing that you did that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and then when I went to Toronto again, what my intention there was to make the most of being in a new place. I knew I was in school with like-minded people. We were all in massage therapy school. Mm-hmm. And so it was an opportunity to meet like-minded people. And so I made the best of it. And I made some of my most amazing friends that I still have in my life are from that time era, those 2 years. I was voted in as class president both years that I was there. I fully immersed myself in the experience so that I could really be present and in the moment while I was there. So again, moving there, and I created the life that I wanted to have.
Yeah. Wow. That's so awesome. My other question for you, if you're comfortable speaking about it, how did you cope with a loss that close, the love of your life, possibly? I don't know what he was for you, but how did you cope with a loss that close to you?
It was really, really challenging. And maybe, every relationship is unique for everybody. And whether that's a romantic relationship or a parent and child or a sibling or a friend, and because what's happened with that relationship is you have your story, right? And you have your experiences together and your memories and all these things. So for myself, what happened, there was 3 losses within 6 months of each other. And the first one was my husband, but the loss occurred before that, because it was a very abusive relationship, and I actually was forced to leave our home 2 months prior to him passing away. So I wasn't with him when he passed. And so it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating for me. And I don't know, I guess you cope as well as you could. I seriously felt responsible for his death in some crazy way, because there was the cycle of abuse that had started with my mom continued, right? So it was just a different person. So I was told that I was unworthy. I was told that I wasn't, that my job was to take care of him. My job was to take care of my mom. I was told at one point that he actually didn't love me, that he just married me because he knew I was strong and I could take care of him. And so there was a lot of abuse, and verbally and emotionally and psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really felt responsible when he passed away. So how did I cope? I had a bit of a breakdown. I had to get help. That was the first time that I had to go get help. And I was, it was bad. I was suicidal myself. I didn't think I was worth living. I felt like I had failed. And it was not a good situation. And then shortly after that, my stepdad, the man that I had moved in with, my mom's boyfriend, ended up getting married. And that wasn't a great situation either. He ended up being a pedophile. And so shortly after my husband died, my mom's husband, there was some evidence that finally came about that I could take him to court finally, and he committed suicide. So that was just months after Jeff died. And then shortly after that, my mom's mom, my grandma, my mom's side, she passed away. So there was 3 deaths really, really close, but all of them were different. I mean, they were all obviously had a direct impact for me.
Yeah.
A very direct impact for me.
Yeah.
But they were all very, very different.
Yeah. Did you have a good relationship with your grandma?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. She actually told me on my wedding day, she pulled me aside, we were dancing, and she said, Kari, it doesn't matter what happens. Like, don't ever stay in a relationship with a man that doesn't love you. Yeah. And so I don't know if she could see something even then that I couldn't see, but yeah, those were really strong words coming from her.
Yeah. I'm just blown away by your story. I did not know any of this. And I just think that you have chosen to turn your life around and not be sucked into the generational trauma and issues. And I'm blown away by that, because I see what you're doing now, and it blows me away. All of the pain that you went through and how strong you are now. That's just so amazing.
Oh, thank you. And I guess that's maybe the theme of this conversation is it's a choice. Yeah. Every day's a choice. It's a choice to open our eyes in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And for anybody that suffers from depression or any other kind of mental health issues, you know, I can relate to that. I understand that. I've been there. I get it. And so, but when you make the choice to do it, and then you make the choice to sit up and get out of bed, and some people, you know, a lot of people have said to me, like, I don't have any choice. It's not, and it's always our choice. It's always our choice to make and some people's situations are better and some are worse. But they have the same choice, like they have the choice to continue that way or not.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's a very powerful message and an important one, because I think so often, I mean, like you said, we don't think we have a choice, but at the end of the day, we can do what we would like. So I think that's very important. So you were on your way to telling us you were in massage school. So now you've taken yourself out of that really dark place through professional help. Yep. You're on your way, and now you've recreated yourself again.
Yeah. So massage therapy school, and then just rules and regulations. I couldn't move back to British Columbia because just the government got involved with massage therapy at that time. So I moved to Alberta because that's as close to home as I could get. Yeah. And recreated a new life again. And I was living in Canmore and working in Banff and Canmore, and decided I didn't like that transient client base. And so I opened up a clinic, a massage therapy clinic downtown Calgary, and loved it, and was very successful in my career right away, and met some amazing people, and continued my education, continued on learning all, and I haven't stopped. And that was back in 1998. So I've been working since 1998, and I absolutely love what I do. And so yeah, owned that clinic and met my husband, my current husband, and so we moved to Cochrane, Alberta in 2003. Mm-hmm. And we've had all three. I have three boys, three teenage boys, so they've all been born here, and continued on working. And actually had a little stint for 4.5 years, owned a wellness center, created a wellness center here in Cochrane, had like 32 staff at one time. And now back in my home office here, just doing what I love and trying to keep life as stressless so that I can spend my extra energy and time doing things that I love.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah. I know a little bit more of your story, and I'm wondering if you would share it with us today. So I remember you saying that there was another difficult point where you had broken down again. Mm-hmm. Would you be able to explain a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. So, I through this conversation, it might sound like through these transitions, it was just like I made a decision and I did something and it was easy. And then I moved on and I created something and it was easy. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. It's not always easy. Life isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be lived, and to find the joy and the sorrow, and to experience the emotions, not to hang on to them, but to experience them. So when my husband and I, we had 3 little kids. I had gotten rid of my clinic downtown Calgary and working out of my home here. And I was really, really busy. And I ended up having another massage therapist working for me, and a nutritionist, and I had a psychologist, and we were all kind of using the room and working different shifts. But my home turned into a workplace. And so my children being young, I found myself getting upset with them for laughing because it was too loud. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this isn't the story. This isn't how I want them to think of me working and whatnot. And they need to feel safe and have fun in their own home. So that's why I decided to open up the center. And the center, it did really, really, really well, and it grew quickly. We didn't really have anything like that in Cochrane at the time at all. So it was something new and awesome. And it grew too quickly for me and my capabilities. And so because I liked working with people directly, I was still doing that, but I was also trying to manage this big team. And that didn't resonate with me. I'm not a manager per se. I'm a relationship-driven person. So when you're trying to manage a business or run a business, that doesn't necessarily work. And it especially didn't work because I was trying to do it from what I call a masculine role, where, it dot your I's and cross your T's and have rules and procedures and policies, and which makes sense when you're running a business, especially when you have that many people, right? But it didn't come from an authentic place from my heart. And so it was creating conflict with my staff. And I'm an empath, so I can feel energies from other people. And so it was getting worse and worse. And I was ending up at the center and be there for 12, 14, 16-hour days. I didn't see my kids at all. I ended up hiring a nanny, and just all these things were going on. And then I had a breakdown. One morning before I was getting ready for work and getting the kids ready for school, the tears just started pouring down my face at the kitchen table. And I ran upstairs and started hyperventilating and collapsed on the floor, and my kids thought I was dying, and it was horrible. It was scary and terrifying and horrible, and I realized right then and there that things had to change. Things had to change. Mm-hmm. So my lease was coming up soon. I decided not to renew my lease. That was really hard.
Yeah.
Not because I felt like a failure, but because I was worried about what other people would think about me. Mm-hmm. But I just chose not to renew my lease, and I found all the staff jobs. I got them all employed somewhere else.
Okay.
And I shut down that business, and yeah, it was the best thing I've ever done.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do after that?
After that?
Mm-hmm.
After I made sure everybody had jobs and whatnot, I came back home here and just worked part-time and went back to that. Who am I? What do I want my life to look like? What's going to happen with that? And I started, what did I do? I was working here, and I started, trying to think. I shut it down in November. I joined a running clinic that March. Mm-hmm. And decided, because I had knee surgery, I decided I wanted to cross train. So I decided that I wanted to do a triathlon, and I was going to cross train. And I signed up for my first triathlon in August of 2016 in Lake Chaparral, Calgary, Alberta. Mm-hmm. And so I started exercising, and yeah.
And so was exercise, you'd probably say exercise was one of the tools that helped you regain your strength and get to where you are today?
Yes, exercise is, for me, when we talked earlier in this conversation, just about we have that choice, right? Mm-hmm. And exercise for me, and running races and committing to get to a certain, to be able to do something, mm-hmm. is about that choice. Because when you're running or biking or swimming, it's not a team effort. None of that. Mm-hmm. Nobody can, when you're running, force you to put one leg in front of the other. It's all on you. It's all on you. Nobody can really teach you how to listen to the signs in your body. Like I do a coaching clinic, or a running clinic, where I coach, and I encourage people, and I'm coaching them, trying to get them to understand, but I'm not inside of their bodies. I don't know how they feel or what's going on. So to cross that finish line, to accomplish that goal, nobody's responsible for that but you and yourself. And that's it. And the commitment and showing up and doing it, nobody can do that for you. So there's really, for myself, there's nothing better than that feeling of that accomplishment, of crossing that finish line, or checking off that bucket list, like, oh my gosh, I did my first 5 kilometers, like I ran for 5 kilometers straight, or whatever it is. I just went out this morning because I'm training for a 70.3 Ironman. Wow. And I was talking to my son. He's like, oh, were you out for a run this morning? I said, no, I just ran 44K and then did a 2K swim. And he's like, you what? And as I say ran, I mean rode my bike. He's like, you went for a bike ride for 44 kilometers? Like, you're just talking, Mom, like it's nothing. Like, you're just like, it's just that's not what normal people do, Mom. And it kind of hit me. It's like, yeah, that is kind of cool, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But nobody can do that for me.
Yeah.
Nobody pedals those pedals but me. And it's that choice. So yes, exercise has been huge, 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 huge. Any kind of movement, and it doesn't have to be triathlons or anything like that. But one of my belief systems is that we hold our emotions in the tissues in our body. And what's the most efficient way to get that emotion out? Move your body. Remind your body that it is capable of moving, and move that energy through you rather than holding on to it and storing it.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I love it. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now. And I know you're in a transition period, so the best of your ability to explain that to us, what you're doing now. And I would love to hear all the different things that you've experienced, like in your training and all the different types of things you've done in your work.
Sure. So as you know, I was trained as a massage therapist, and I took a few little courses at the beginning to get me down that road. So it's been 20, so that I graduated in 98. So started that process in massage in 96. So it's been 23 years that I've been doing massage therapy primarily as a career. And through the last, I'd say, especially since my breakdown when I owned my center and I was exposed to psychosomatic therapy, and that particular therapy, it really helped me go inward to understand what was happening within my body and my own emotions, and why I was acting or reacting to situations, and to really accept myself as a sensitive human being, and that it's okay. I could probably very successfully again run a business with 40 staff, but I would do it totally different. I would do it from a place of love and a place of sensitivity rather than trying to fit into that corporate world. Right. I'm not going to, because that isn't where I want my energy to go, but I could, because I know more about myself. So that was the beginning of this new stepping of this journey. So I do cranial sacral therapy, which is working on the nervous system, the brain, and the somato-emotional release that goes along with that. And again, it's about, I kept getting these patterns, taking these courses about energy being stored in the tissues, and emotions and behaviors and patterns being stored within our body. So cranial sacral therapy and visceral manipulation and brain, a lot of brain work and nerve work. And so there was that process. And I always, because I knew there was more than just massage. So I also went and took homeopathy courses, and I became a holistic nutritionalist, and understanding that the answers come from within. So whether physical, or is it the physiology, or is it what we're eating, or is it the mental, is what's going on. And then what I've realized is that we can call it whatever we want, but it's all of that. Mm-hmm. And so this last year, with the shutdowns and whatnot, I've started taking courses in body talk. And body talk is bringing all of that stuff and giving me and all that knowledge that I've acquired, and being able to access it for my clients on a very individual, specific, unique level, because I use muscle testing. So I use muscle testing with whoever I'm working with, so that we can get specific on what is it that body needs at that time. What are the priorities for that person to heal on a mental, emotional, and physical level. Mm-hmm. And usually physical is the last thing. It's the least important thing. It's what we feel the most, because we can feel it in our body, but our body physically is reacting because of imbalances in our mental and emotional states. And so the body talk allows me to get to that specificity for each individual. So I love it so much. And that's the transition that I'm going through. Is I have all this knowledge for the physical, but if we really want to get healed, if we really want to make that transition in people's lives, now we have other tools. And so I'm also, I'm actually just taking a sabbatical. I have 2 more days of work. And then I'm taking a month and I'm finishing up my NLP, which is neuro, which is brain, linguistic, which is language, neuro-linguistic practitioner. And so that is helping people. It's like counseling, and helping people through the process to really get into that mental, emotional, to let those release, as well as hypnotherapy if there's any blockages there that we can't get through with the body talk and other modalities. So bringing all of this together is what the transition is, so that when I come back, my practice is going to be catered to people who want to heal right from the cellular level on every level. And so with that too, with all this experience and all these things that I do, I'm also writing a book. So the title has changed, so I haven't quite pinned it down, but the book is essentially about understanding your body and appreciating and accepting who you are for your optimal life. And so how do you do that? It's like when we were talking before, I made a choice, but how do you know what choice is the right one, right? How do you know what to do? And so that's what this book is about. It's about learning to really trust yourself with an acronym, LOVE, by listening, observing, validating, and encouraging. So I break it down step by step on how to do that. So if you feel stuck, you feel like you want to make those choices, but you don't know how, that's what I'm guiding you and helping you figure out through love, through loving yourself. And so then there's also a workbook and an online course that goes with that as well.
Wow, that's so awesome. I can feel your passion all about this stuff. It's so amazing. And I know your opinion, and I just want to get a little bit behind the scenes. You explain it a little bit more of how you absolutely love living. You're so happy. I mean, from what I see, but I just think that one thing you said to me, the most important thing is that you love what you do. So I would love if you could expand a little bit on that.
I do. I absolutely love what I do. People ask, lots of people talk about, when I retire, when this happens, then I'm going to do this, when that happens. And that's not how I live my life. I feel blessed that I get to see clients that I know they tell me I'm making a difference in their lives, and that fills my heart. Because going back to when I'm a child and what I said from the time I was 3 years old, I know that I'm here to help people, and I accept that, and I accept that with loving gratitude and graciousness without any resentment at all. And it's taken me a long time to get here because there was resentment at the beginning. But now I feel so blessed that I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And so because I have that innate knowledge, I'm so confident in that, I love learning. I love learning because if I learn something that can help somebody just a little bit more, then I'm fulfilling what my true nature is.
Yeah.
And so it's a win-win-win all the time. I'm very, very cognizant of burnout now because of having my breakdown. More than two. I have two big ones, 2 big breakdowns. I'm very cognizant. So I design my days that I'm getting my exercise in. I'm getting my family time in. I prioritize what's important to me. I do a lot of volunteer work. I actually just won an award from the Alberta provincial government through the Alberta School Council Association for 2021 Parent of Distinction Award,
That's
which
awesome.
was kind of a nice pat on the back for all the volunteer work I've done for them. And it fills my heart to give. And the more my heart's full, the more I can give. So it ends up working out really well.
Yeah, I think that's so awesome. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about burnout, because I know personally that's something I've experienced as well. I think I was in grade 10 when it happened to me, and I was doing sports and a whole bunch of extracurriculars and trying to get 100 on everything in school. And then I got really, really sick. My body completely shut down, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. I'm like, I'm just sick, right? I just kept telling myself I'm just sick, but I was so sick. It was more than just like a cough and a runny nose. And after that, I figured out that that was my body completely shutting down from the go, go, go 100% all the time, the burnout. And again, I was pretty young when that happened, but I think that like I was very lucky to get support. I got counseling, professional help in order for me to overcome that. But I was wondering if you could share some tips for someone in a similar situation.
Yeah. There's two roads that I've witnessed. So one road is you have the individual, and I'll use myself for an example.
Okay.
So when I owned my wellness center, and the burnout occurred because I was not being true to myself, because I was trying to live a life of something that wasn't congruent with who I was. That being a manager trying to live a corporate role, trying to be a corporate person when that doesn't resonate with me. And so every day I'd get up and I would dread it because I would have to have a meeting with somebody, or I'd have to maybe talk to someone because they were late or they didn't do and so I dreaded it. And so when you're not living in congruence, in integrity with yourself, that can lead to burnout, because that takes so much energy from you, right?
And would you say that there was elements of like wanting to please others in that state as well?
100%. And I didn't want to disappoint people. And I'm not a confrontational person. So I didn't want to have any confrontations. And some people thrive on that, right? So And so that was the definite, the burnout, after my husband passed away. That was, or even it started before he passed away, because I was trying so hard and I was going against the grain. And so it was taking the energy away from me because it wasn't good. I listened to Abraham Hicks, and they use an analogy of if you're in the canoe, why are you always trying to row upstream to get the pot of gold, when the pot of gold is really downstream? And if you just let go of the resistance, the canoe's going to take you there. And so those two situations of my big breakdowns, I was rowing upstream. I was trying to change things or be somebody who I wasn't. And that led to breakdown, or burnout. The other pot, I'd say the other person, so that's one person. The other person is the person, and I do this as well. I love life. I love exploring and experiencing. And I never, as a young teenager in my 20s, like, if anybody wanted to do anything, they'd like call Kari. She'll do anything. Like, she's up for anything. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. I love it.
Yeah.
But that can also lead to burnout, because even though you enjoy it and you're having fun, you only have so much time, energy, and money, right? Mm-hmm. So just because it's all awesome, it doesn't, you still can't do it all. You can't. I know people say you can do it all, but you can't. Mm-hmm. So if I use myself as an example, a couple of years ago, I was starting to feel like, why am I going upstream? Like, I look at my life and there's nothing in my life that I don't enjoy, but I was working. I have 3 kids. I do my volunteer work. I joined a dragon boat team, which was 3 2 practices a week. I was training for a triathlon, which is running, biking, swimming. I was coaching or volunteering and doing something else over here. And yes, I love it all, but it pulled me too thin, right? So I had to to be honest, I've been so this half Ironman I'm loving it because I have the time to do it, because I'm not doing Dragon Boat. Doesn't mean I don't love Dragon Boat. I'll start back with Dragon Boat next year, and Ironman 1 year I'll do a Dragon, but I can't do it all. Not when I'm still working full time and have kids. And so that's the other part of burnout, is if you're just trying to do it all and you just can't. And there's seasons and some things you're just going to have to let go. And maybe you'll come back to it, and maybe you won't, because there'll be something else that's just as exciting and fun that's going to come around the corner.
Yeah, that was a great analogy. I can definitely relate to that. So thank you for sharing that. I have enjoyed this time so much. You have given us so much to take away. I hope you guys all had your notepad and pencils out writing notes, because this was absolutely amazing. But I have 3 final questions for you to end this off. You can go into as much or a little detail as you'd like. So the first question is, what is the best piece of advice you've received, and who gave it to you?
I'd have to go back to, the most life-altering best advice that I've received is listen to your body. Your body never lies. And that was expressed to me in that way by my mentor, Carol, from the Lighthouse Institute, when I was exposed to the psychosomatic therapy.
Yeah, that is
the
great.
Body never lies.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like you don't know what decision to make, and your brain's telling you something and your heart's telling you something, usually your heart's right, because your brain's going to tell you all kinds of stories, and 99% of it is BS.
Yeah, that is a great answer. Okay. So next question is, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
That you can do it all. That as a female, what's holding you back? It's your right. It's you can do it all. You can do it all. You can be a mom, and you can work, and you can volunteer, and you can do this, and you can do that, and you should look beautiful all the time. And that too, BS, right? Yeah. No, we can't do it all. We can't do it all efficiently and with an open heart. And so we have to make choices. And sometimes we're going to put more energy into this part, and sometimes we're going to put more energy into this part, and this is going to fall down. But when we're juggling it all, keep it simple. You don't have to do it all. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer to that question. Okay, so one of my last questions is, what is something that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful that we are so blessed that nature, the world has given us everything we need to thrive. And I'm grateful that I have been on the other side where I've just been surviving. And I didn't even know if I would survive. And by simplifying, by really understanding what brings me joy, I have so much gratitude for the abundance in this world that is so simple. So whether it's the cherry blossom on a tree that brings a beautiful scent and something beautiful to look at, or if it's all of it. I feel like we need to just stop, look, and listen. And yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. Can you let us know where we can find you and connect with you more if they want? Absolutely. Kari Rose, KARIROSE, health. So health being all encompassing, body, mind, soul, spirit. And So that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and my website, Kari Rose Health. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for doing this. This is going to be a blessing to so many people.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kari, for being so vulnerable and opening up with everyone about the real challenges and the real struggles that you faced throughout your childhood, throughout your adult life, and onward. It has been so beneficial, and I have learned so much from you. So thank you again, and I hope you guys all have a great day, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!